countless videos, feeling like finding a coin in the dark forest, or frustrated with experimenting on your own, and nothing seems to work? This workshop is the solution for you. Stay tuned for this exciting live Figma workshop. Are you tired of searching through countless videos, feeling like finding a coin in the dark forest, or frustrated with experimenting on your own, and nothing seems to work? This workshop is the solution for you. Stay tuned for this exciting live Figma workshop. Are you tired of searching through countless videos, feeling like finding a coin in the dark forest, or frustrated with experimenting on your own, and nothing seems to work? This workshop is the solution for you. Stay tuned for this exciting live Figma workshop. Are you tired of searching through countless videos, feeling like finding a coin in the dark forest, or frustrated with experimenting on your own, and nothing seems to work? This workshop is the solution for you. Stay tuned for this exciting live Figma workshop. Are you tired of searching through countless videos, feeling like finding a coin in the dark forest, or frustrated with experimenting on your own, and nothing seems to work? This workshop.
Hello. Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you guys are able to hear me. If yes, please drop it in a chat box. I hope, guys, I'm still not sure if you guys are able to hear me. If yes, then please do let me know in the chat so we can, get started with the actual the session which we are here for. Hello. I guess there's some technical issues. I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me. Okay. I guess now you can hear me. So we'll be starting with the Figma, and let's jump into the Figma and get started with it. So we'll be exploring how to create the cool animations in Figma, and we'll be seeing how we can apply those animation techniques where you can basically create. Okay, sound is very low. Let me just adjust it. Let me know if this is good now. I'll just adjust the microphone a bit. Okay, I hope this is much better now. So let's jump into the Figma and get started with. So first we'll understand what is animation and how to animate in Figma. So Figma animation is basically not Figma, but any animation is basically nothing but if you see any object on the screen, basically when this object is moving or changing its position over the time, then it is basically called as animation. So for example, let's say we have a frame here, okay, and then let's say we have one more frame here, and let's say this is our first frame, which is at, let's say, 0th second, okay, and let's say we have one more frame which is at one you know 1 second kind of duration. So from 0th second to first second, we'll be having in between frames which will basically change the position of this rectangle from this, let's say, x is 79, y is 54 here, and in this frame we can see it is 127 on the x and 54 on the y, where x and y coordinates are updated over period of time. So this is 0th second, this is first second, so all the frames in between, basically we used to draw those frames in traditional animation on piece of paper, and we used to animate them over the period of time. But now with the computer computer animation, we can simply create the interpolation between the frames. So in Figma, what we can do is basically we can create interaction to create the interpolation. Okay, so this is going to be our first frame, and now we'll be creating a simple interaction that is going to be simple on-click interaction, and we'll use smart animate, and then let's have a linear interpolation, and let's play this animation. So when I click, it basically travels its position from the origin to the end. So in background, what it is doing, basically, if you try to break it down, I'll just create a frame in between. I'll just remove this interaction from this frame. So what it basically is doing is basically it is moving this rectangle, it is moving this rectangle in between, and it is basically starting from here, it is going here, and then it is ending here. So this interpolation is animation. So if nothing is moving over the period of time, then there is no animation. Okay, so in Figma, how does this interpolation is been calculated? So there's this very important rule which you need to remember while you are doing animations, is basically name of the layer. So if you see, we have rectangle 1 on this frame 2, and then we have rectangle 1 on the frame 1 as well. And why this is important, name of the layer? Because if you have any other names to your layers in the multiple frames, then you'll not able to, or Figma will not able to determine if which object is moving over a period of time. And how timing is defined: when we have created this interaction, we are defining the duration of the animation, which is 300 milliseconds, where our animation is going from frame 1 to frame 2 in 300 milliseconds. If we do it 1 second, then that is going to be 1000 milliseconds. We are still keeping the smart animate. And then let's see this again. So when we click, it is going from the 0th frame, or the first frame, or the 0th second to the first second in the duration of 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, right? So I hope you guys are able to hear it clearly. There is a comment: is it a paid Figma? No, it is not a paid Figma. You can do it in open source version as well. Okay. So yes, now when we have created the first animation, we are making sure that the layer name is similar in both of the frame. If we change the layer name, and if we keep it let's say rectangle here, and then rectangle 1 and rectangle here, then Figma will still do the animation, but that animation will not be the linear, or that animation will not be smooth interpolation between the first frame and the second frame. So let me show it here. You can see it is just a simple dissolve. So why it is a simple dissolve? Because Figma doesn't know which object is moving over a period of time. So that's why Figma is just taking this frame and fading it into the frame 2. So frame 1 and frame 2 are being fade out, like fade into each other. So there is this fade transition in between two frames, and that's why it is appearing as, okay, this is disappearing from here and it is going here. If we again rename this back to the rectangle 1, or if we remove 1 from the first frame, then it should start working as expected. So I'll just reload the prototype, and I'll simply click here, and now you see this is started to animate. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. If there is any technical issue, please write down in the comments. So now if you see, basically we are animating this object over a period of time in frame 1 and frame 2. Okay. Now we'll be seeing what are the different things which we can do in the animation in Figma. So very very basic thing which we'll be doing here is, now we'll be creating a simple loading animation in Figma, and we'll be first getting rid of these frames. Let's delete them. Let's create a simple maybe a phone screen. Okay, iPhone 14 for now, let's say, and let's create a ellipse. We'll be creating very simple loader. So I'll first create a hollow sphere or hollow circle, where I'll be adjusting sweep, and I'll give it a nice grayish or blackish kind of thing, and then I'll create a duplicate of this. Oops. So for this duplicated ellipse, I'll select this. I'll change the color of the duplicated version of the ellipse, and I'll just adjust the sweep again. So I want it something like this, and start has to be at somewhere at negative 90 degree. So what we'll be doing, we'll be taking this ellipse and we'll be taking it in our frame, right? As we saw, animation needs frames, right? So to have multiple frames, what we have to do is basically we need to create multiple frames, right? And to create multiple frames, let's just duplicate this for few more times. Okay, so we have duplicated the frame. So these are our frames, basically the in between frames which we'd be animating. Now make sure you first draw the your objects on the first frame, and then you duplicate the entire frame, not copy paste the object. If you do copy paste or such kind of things, or if you keep drawing these things again and again in each frame, in that case you'll basically lose the naming structure. So if you see in all of the frames we have ellipse 1 and ellipse 2. The name is very important when you are doing the animations. So let's start with the second frame. Here we'll be adjusting the start. So instead of negative 90 degree, we'll just go a bit further and we'll do it at 0 degree. Okay, and then in the frame 3 we'll be adjusting again the start point, and we'll take it somewhere around 90 degrees. So this was negative 90 degree and this is 90 degree, which is exact half of our animation, or exact the second half of our animation. And now we'll take this and we'll move it to the minus 180 degrees. So now if you see, we have 4 frames where we have just rotated or adjusted the sweep of the or the start position of the object. But if we see, this will not be animated because Figma doesn't support animating sweep. So in this case, what we have to do is basically we need to again adjust the sweep back to 0 or negative 90, and you'll be seeing why why I am showing sweep first and not the actual animation, just because you need to understand what are the things which Figma can animate and Figma cannot animate. So if you go to the documentation of Figma, or if you explore Figma, Figma has very limited properties which you can animate. It includes the sizes, the positions, XY coordinates of the the objects, and the fill and outline color, so and the rotation. So these are the only properties which you can animate, and if you try to animate something which is not supported by the Figma, then you will not able to create the animation and you'll find the glitch. So now fix this. Let's fix this. So to fix this, we'll select the ellipse 2 again, and I'll just animate this. I'm just rotating it to negative 90 degree. I'm selecting it in the third frame. I'm going it to somewhere around 180 degree, and on the last frame I'm doing it to almost again like the 90 degrees from here, so which is 270 kind of 2. So now we'll create a interaction in between these frames, and to create the interaction you have to go to the prototype tab, and you can simply switch the design tab and prototype tab by just simply hitting Shift E on your keyboard, right? So you can hit Shift E and you can switch the tabs. So let's create the interaction. Still we are creating on tab, and we are doing navigate to, and we are using smart animate and linear. We'll slowly take it to the next step. I'll just first create the interactions in all of the frames, and I'll just create an interaction from last frame to the very first frame. Okay, same interactions on tab, navigate to the frames which we want to, and then smart animate and with the linear animation curve. Now I'll select all of the frames. Okay, it basically allows me to change the properties for all selected frames and properties of the interaction for all of them in just a single click. So now I'll do it 300 milliseconds. 1 second is too fast, so we'll do it 300 milliseconds now, and let's just play this. As of now, it will not automatically animate. You need to click on the canvas and then only it will animate, because we have created the interaction on tab. Now you can see, we have created this simple loading animation, but now we need to enhance this and we need to make it automatic animation, and that should be in a loop kind of thing. So how we can do it? Again, let's select all of the frames, and instead of on tap interaction, this time we are going to use after delay. So just mark this, after delay is one of the very important or very crucial, or very uh, very gem kind of thing in animation in Figma, because it gives us a lot of capabilities where you can use after delay and you can create awesome animations. So now we'll be doing it, let's say 1 millisecond kind of thing, which is just a fraction of second, and we'll keep on going through the different frames. So what after delay is doing now, instead of triggering the navigate to interaction on tap or on click of the mouse, it is automatically initiating or automatically triggering this animation navigate to after a certain amount of delay. So for now we are giving it 1 millisecond. We can test it with, let's say 300 or 500 milliseconds for now. Okay, and then let's play this. So after every 500 milliseconds it will keep on switching the frames, and it will animate, and it will the Figma will automatically create the interpolation between the frames. So now you can see how Figma is basically going through the frames. You can see how it is being highlighted, right? So now let's say we again select them again, and let's modify the delay, and rather than having it 500 milliseconds, let's do it 1. Now it will create a seamless animation with just a simple a simple looping loading animation, right? Now to make it a little bit crisp, or to make it a little bit realistic, or make it more appealing, we can change the curves, the bezier curves, or the animation timing curves. So let's just do it ease in and ease out, and now you can see it is automatically easing in and easing out when we are switching through the frames. We'll definitely explore these curves in more detail in with more examples, but for now just make sure when you want to create a smoother animation, you can go ahead and create the nice smooth animations using the animation timings, right? So for now we have created a simple loading animation. I'll just keep it linear for now, because we don't want to that stoppy or a laggy kind of animation. For a loader we want a continuously revolving animation, right? So let's just close this, and now let's explore animation into more details in Figma. So far we have just created a simple loading animation, but now we'll exploring the animation curves. I'll simply delete this and get rid of all the things which we have created here. Let me create one more frame. This time let's maybe go out for a desktop, right? Maybe a MacBook Pro 16 inches. Okay, now let me create again one object on the screen, and let's use a rectangle this time. Okay, let's use some color to it, and now we'll create a duplicate of this frame, and let's move it at the edge other edge of the frame, and let's create a after delay interaction in these two frames. So this time we are going to create a after delay interaction with the 1 millisecond, and this time let's say maybe 500, and let's just do it a loop back. So to keep on looping, you just need to create one interaction from the last frame of your animation to the first frame with after delay interaction, and very less fraction or very less duration. So we'll just keep 1 millisecond in both of the timings. So after delay, like after 1 millisecond, we will navigate to MacBook Pro 16 inch 1, with a linear smart animation of within the 1 millisecond. Okay, so let's play this. So now you can see it is continuously moving from left to right and just again going back to the right very quickly. So I'll just explain this in more detail, and I'll just, let's say, do it 1 second here. Now you can see it is taking 1 second from going from left to right, but it is taking only a 1 millisecond to go back to its default position, which is the origin of the object. So now we'll be exploring all the different curves. So I'll create couple more copies of the rectangle. I'll just move them up here. I'll duplicate them, and I'll duplicate it one more time. Actually that won't work here, sorry. Because we need to keep multiple animations. So I'll create one more copy of the frame itself, not the objects within the frame, and we'll change the animation curve for the second example. So now we'll be using ease in or ease out, or let's go ahead with ease in and ease out, and I'll play this. Now notice the animation, it is going in very linear and very straight fashion. Okay, but when we go to this frame, this animation is basically it is starting slow, it is taking a momentum, and again it is going back to the slow pace, which is basically your ease in, and then it is taking the momentum and it is going back to the destination with the ease out motion, right? So basically if you try to create a visual representation of this, basically it is a bezier curve, or a timing curve. It is nothing but let's say we have this x-axis, and then let's say we have this y-axis. Okay, so this is our timing, and this is our values of the position, right? So let's say we are starting here at what it is, let's say x is 135, y, we are not moving in the y, so we are just changing the position in the x-axis. So let's say we have 135, and our timing is from 0 to 1 second, right? So let's say we have 0 here. I'll definitely zoom in a little bit here. So we have 0 here, and then we have 1 here, which is our number of seconds, like, or number of microseconds from 0 to 1 second, which is 1000 milliseconds. And now we have position of the object on the other axis. So let's say this is starting from x1, and it is going to x2. Okay, so we have x1 here, we have x2 here, we have 0th second, and we have 1st second here. So this is our time, this is our the position, or the property which we are animating. Now when we create a linear animation curve, I'll just plot it somewhere here, just to make sure that it is easier for visualization. So when we plot a graph here, we are changing the x position from here to here in this amount of time. Okay, so I'll simply draw a line here. When we are doing a linear animation, it is just very straightforward. Let me know if the lines are not visible. I'll just, okay, So we have 0th second here, we have first second here, we have x1 here, and we have x2 here. When we are going ahead with a linear curve, it is simply moving the object from x1 to x2 in 1 second of the duration, with basically let's say maybe I'll just use a line here. So on every on every 100 milliseconds or something like that, it is going in a linear fashion. So something like this, it is going in very linear fashion from 0 to first second. Now let's take other example where we have created this ease in and ease out timing curve. So what we are doing in ease in and ease out timing curve, let me keep this here itself, I'll duplicate this. And when we are easing, we are doing the same thing, we are going from x1 to x2 in 0 to 1 second, but this time we are not going in a straight or a linear direction or in a linear motion. This time we are starting gradually, very slow, right, and we are slowly going to the end. So not exactly like this, I'll just create the exact. So we have something like this, which is ease in and ease out. So if you see, we are still doing this linear motion in between, but when we are starting, we are going with very slow pace, very steady movement, where the distance, you can say the distance of the when you go, or when you talk about the timing and spacing in animation language, in animation terminology, basically you are here you are basically doing the animation from like one position to other position, where you are adjusting the timing and you are adjusting the spacing of the frames, where your object is kind of if your object is too close from its first position in second position, then it is basically very slow or very steady movement. When it is far away, then it is a very quick, very rapid movement. So the same thing which we are doing here. So we are just basically starting we are just starting from the x1, we are going very slow, very steady, we are again going back to the linear motion here. Now if you compare these two curves, we are still having this linear, the middle part as it is here, but when we are going towards the end, we are again slowing down a little bit, and it is basically creating this ease effect. So now if you see, I'll just quickly show it to you again. So if you see this, we are seeing that it is starting very slow, it is taking the momentum, again it is ending up with a very slow motion. Now if you explore the further curves, it is basically the same way. Instead of ease in and ease out, let's go ahead with ease in. So what ease in will do, the same way as the same way as we saw, like ease in is basically starting gradually and then picking up the momentum and end it at your destination in the plain linear motion, right? So if you see here, basically let me just take a copy of this, right? And now I'll just tilt this curve here, and what we are doing is we are starting gradually, and then we are going to the destination at very quick or very rapid moment. So this is our ease in curve. So when we adjust the easing more, we basically create a smoother entry of the animation, and then a sharp exit at end, right? So like this we can create custom curves. So if you look at the Figma has a lot of built-in animation curves. So you can see we have ease in, we have ease out, we have ease in and out, we have ease in back, we have ease out back, we have ease in and out back, we have custom bezier. So we'll go to the custom bezier soon, but we have seen ease in, ease out, ease in and out, and now we'll see ease in and back. Same way ease out is instead of just starting at a slow pace, it is basically starting. I'll just quickly plot it here, so there will not be any confusion. So it is just the reverse, you can say reverse of this curve. So not exactly reverse, but basically we are starting very slow, very quick, and we are ending at a slower pace. So this is going to be my ease out, right? So I'll just give the names below these graphs. So this is my linear motion, okay. Now we have this ease in and out, and then we have ease in, and then we have ease out. So you'd be wondering why I'm explaining all these things, because if you couldn't understand the underlying principles of the animation, how we can achieve the various effects in the animation, you will not able to create the awesome animations in the Figma as we do in After Effects or any other animation tool for say. So to understand how the other applications are animating, we need to understand the logic behind it, the principle behind it, and how basically animation actually works. And if you understand how animation works, you will able to animate anything in any tool. Not necessarily if it is Figma, if it is After Effects, if it is Maya or Blender or any other tool. If you understand these underlying principles, only the terminology will be different, only the methods will be different, but the underlying principles would be same in any other animation tool. So if you understand this, you will be able to animate anything in any other tools. So yep, I hope it is not getting bored or anything kind of thing, but when we create when we understand these curves, we'll able to animate any awesome any objects in Figma with nice and cool effect in Figma itself, right? So now we have understood the basic curves. Now we'll explain or we'll explore what are the other curves which we have in Figma. So I'll again go to the after delay the interaction panel, and now you can see instead of ease in, we'll be choosing ease in and back. So if we see this animation, you can see what it is doing. It is basically basically it is anticipating the moment. So it is first going back and then moving forward. So this is basically your anticipation, which is kind of used in the animation principles to anticipate the viewers where what is going to be the upcoming action. So let's say if someone is throwing a ball, then he takes his arm and then he throws. So it basically anticipate the action. If someone is going to hit a punch to a bag for say, or to a wall, then he basically takes up that position first. He moves his arm a little bit back, and then he take the entire energy and then he hit it on the wall or on the bag. So same way, when you have to show this anticipation to the viewers, basically you need to make sure that you are giving a hint to the users, okay, what this object is going to do in the next frame, right? So that's what we are doing here. So we are basically giving a anticipation to the user, okay, this object is going back, taking the energy, and then moving with the full speed or the motion, right? So if we try to draw the curve for this, then basically you can take ease in example, because we are doing let me just confirm which curve it was right, ease in and back, right? So we'll just take ease in. Now now we have seen, right, we have x1, we have x2, but now if you look at the motion, it is basically, you know, going beyond somewhere here, which is minus x1, right? So it is something, you know, beyond the x, or you know, before the x1, and then it is going to the x2. So now if you see, the duration is same, you know, from 0 to first second. The x1 and x2 are the same, but when we are saying, you know, we want to create that back effect, we are just, you know, moving this a little bit, you know, towards the x1. So what it is doing, it is taking back you know, that object, and it is throwing towards the x2 with the full speed. So this is your ease in and back, or you know, ease in back kind of thing. But you are, you know, taking this you are, you know, taking this what we say, you are taking this, you know, this curve where, you know, we are anticipating the viewers, you know, how to, you know, animate it. So if you look at these different principles of animation, if you understand the basics, you know, why we are using these curves, then you'll be able to create nice and you know, cool animations in Figma. So in the same way, if we go, you know, for the ease out and back, so basically, you know, it is, let me just take this here, ease out and back. So first let's see, you know, how it looks, how it animates. I'll just change the curve here. So now instead of ease in back, we'll say ease out and back, and let's play this. So the same way, rather than, you know, taking a step backwards, it is now going to the end, and then it is, you know, bouncing there and coming back. So it is basically, you know, if you take look at the, you know, animation principle, where, you know, or you know, if you take a very basic law of motion, or you know, very basic law of physics, every action has a reaction, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when an object is hitting to a wall, or when a ball is bouncing on the floor, it is reflecting back, right? So it is bouncing back. So that's what we are doing with ease out and back. So we are, you know, I'll show it you in the curve. So we are basically let me just close this, and now we have x1, we have x2, but this time what we are doing, we have something where, you know, which is, let's say, plus x2, just for our understanding. And we are not going to directly, you know, to the x2, but rather than we are, you know, going to the x2 plus like plus x2 first, and then we are coming back to x2. So it is basically, you know, going up and then coming to the x2. So with this, you know, we can create ease out back interaction, ease out back animation, right? So let's see what else we have in the curves. We'll definitely go to the what we say, the custom bezier, but yeah, it is same ease in and out back. So let's just create a very quick graph. I don't think, you know, we need to create the animation again for this, but if required, definitely we can do that. But it is, you know, the same way as we have ease in and out. Just, you know, we are just going like, first we are starting with, you know, x, we are going to minus x1, then we are going back, you know, this is going to be very straight, not, you know, a curvy kind of thing. But yes, we are starting from here, we are going back, and we are just pushing ahead, and we are, you know, moving a bit up, and then we are going to the x2, right? So the same way, we have minus x1 here, right? And then we have plus x2. So now if you see, we have, you know, ease in and out back. I hope, you know, you are understanding what I'm trying to explain here, you know, and why it is very important. If you have any questions, any specific things which you want to understand, feel free to write them in the comments. We are going to take the the live chat we have open. So if you have any questions on the curves, please feel free to write them here. We'll definitely explore them in more details. But now let's see what else we have in the Figma curves. So now we have custom bezier, and this is what is one of the very important important tool in our bucket when we are doing animations. So the same way as we have drawn the different cubic curves here, basically you can create your own custom curve. So what we have here is we have ease in and out back, and if you take a look here, like we have this ease in and out back curve. So when we select ease in and out back first, and then we click on custom bezier, it basically gives us a way to create the curves, like create the different animations, animation curves manually, and you can do this animation. So let me just test this again. So now if you see, probably we'll just adjust the duration a little bit, and maybe let's do it 1.5 second. So we'll see how it is going. And rather than going back very quickly from last frame to first, let's have some hold here. So now we're learning one more trick here, how to hold your frames or how to hold your animation. So it is very simple thing, but basically instead of giving a after delay of 1 millisecond, we'll be doing it, let's say 500 milliseconds, which basically creates a pause at the last frame of the animation, and then it goes back to the first frame. Right? So now you can see we have this ease in and out back, but with a custom bezier curve, right? So let's take it ahead. Now let's close this, and now we'll be creating a cool animation in Figma, where we'll be taking the actual icon or something which will be animating and we'll be using it. But now there is a drawback of this method. So now if you see, if you want to do a complex animation, you need to keep on creating multiple frames, right? So how to tackle this, how to handle this thing? So to do this, basically we need to use Figma components, and now we'll be using components to hold our animation, and we'll be using the components. And let's just delete this. Let me again recreate the simple simple same loading animation kind of thing. So I'll just have this small circle, and let's say maybe have a bit bluish kind of shade, right? And let's just duplicate this. Okay, and for the background ellipse, we'll make the sweep 100%, because that is going to be our background of the animation. The same example which we have seen, how to create a simple loader in the Figma. So I'll just now this time, rather than creating multiple copies or multiple frames of this this ellipse, or these two things, I'll just rename them. I'll say BG, which is background, and I'll say FG, which is foreground. So now this is again a very important thing to remember when you are doing animations. You need to make sure that you are giving the proper names, because as we saw earlier in the session, if if you're not giving the proper names to the layers, then probably when you are creating the complex animation, you will mess up with the names and you will not get the desired output as you are expecting to get, because Figma interpolate the animation based on the name of the layer. So that is very important thing to remember when you are creating complex animations. Now we'll be creating how to create a component which is holding the animation, and how to use that component in your frames, where in your designs, where you don't need to create multiple frames in the design, which basically saves memory as well as efforts, I'll say efforts as well, because you can then reuse the components in multiple designs, and then those animated components can be used wherever you want. You just have to create an instance of that component and just simply play the prototype. That's all. So let's create a component here. Now when you create a component, it is sorry, I just selected one layer, so let me do undo. Okay, so when you create a component, you need to make sure a couple of things. So now we have background, we have foreground, but to hold these things together, first I'll create a frame, because when you are creating a component, most of the time beginners are I have seen lots of comments on the videos where we have simple loading animations where beginners are basically kind of making the mistakes where they what we say, they don't select the proper objects or proper layers, and they animate it incorrectly or inconsistently. So right, to make sure that you are animating it properly, you are doing the proper animation, make sure you are selecting all of the objects on the screen, creating a frame for those before creating a component. So let's frame selection. So you can just simply select everything which you want to be in a frame, right click and do a frame selection. I'll give it a name, loader. Okay, and now I'll create a component. So if you look at the structure, we have a frame which is holding our layers, where foreground is going to be our animation layer. So what I'll do, I'll just say anim, and then I'll say fg, or foreground. So with this with this convention, basically you can make sure that when you are creating complex animations, you are just touching the layers where you have anim as a prefix, which basically prevent the accidental glitches or accidental animations in your not necessarily for Figma, but for any other tool. When you create animations in any tool, make sure you are using some prefix or something to your layer names, or to your properties, which basically helps you to understand what exactly you have to animate and what you don't have to animate, right? So let's jump here and let's create a component. To create a component, select the object and just click on this create component. You may use the shortcut as well. Now you can see it has changed the oops, I guess we did a mistake. We have dragged the foreground out of the component. So I'll just again create a component. So we have this loader component. Now you can see this has this magenta kind of color for the component, and if you select a single frame, it has a different color, right? So why do we need component? Just give me a second, I'll just have some water. Yep. So why do we need component? As we saw, components are essential to hold our animation and reuse them again and again in different designs or different frames. But now when we have created the component, we need to make sure we have multiple frames, right? Because animation cannot be animation cannot be done with a single frame, right? To have multiple frames, what do we need? We need variants, right? So component, like rather than having frames, component has a property variant, where you can create multiple variants of the component, which we can treat as our frames, and then we'll be creating interactions within the variants, and then we'll be using the entire component as a complete animated component, right? So let's see how we can do that. Let's select our component which we have recently created. Now go to the properties, click on this plus and click on the variant. So now this will add a property called variant. We can say frames, just we are doing animation, that's why. And I'll say frame 1, or we'll just first add more variants to this. Let me just quickly create one more variant to this. And what I personally feel is basically I feel to create a auto layout. Okay, within the component, not within the variance. Make sure you are doing it for the component, because if you do it for the variant, then you will lose the positions of the circle when we create auto layout. And why do we need auto layout for the components is basically because this auto layout basically helps us to keep our component organized and managed, so we can have sufficient spacing between the variants, and we can create the interactions easily. So I'll just have let's say something around 100. Right, the same way I'll just rename this now, because I have created one more frame here, and this is going to be my frame 1, and this is going to be my frame 2. You can still keep it the default names, doesn't matter, it is just your choice, but I'll recommend to go ahead and give the proper names. Let's create a few more variants here. This time let's give it frame 3 and one more for the frame 4. You'd be seeing why I'm creating 4 variants and why not 2 variants, where we are animating from the beginning to the first to the last frame, as we did for the rectangles. But there is a reason. I'll come to that point as well, why we are not doing that. But let me just explain how to animate when you are using the components. So when you are doing the components, I have seen lots of students who are following it on the channel, basically rotate this entire component. So there is difference. Now if you see, I have this frame 1 and this frame 2. When I rotate, I'm getting a same visual look and feel, but the actual result is different. Now this is not the animation, or it will not animate as expected. It will create some fade kind of behavior, as we saw earlier, because this is not the interpolation which Figma is understanding. If you look at the foreground, it still has 0 or so the rotation is not as expected as Figma is expecting to create the animation. So what we need to do is we need to select the foreground element, or the anim element. I guess we I had undo it. So yeah, we need to make sure that we have that anim name. So yeah, we need to select the foreground layer which we are going to animate, and then we will rotate this. Now I'll rotate this to -90 degree. Now I'll go to the next frame, which is frame 3. I'll select again the foreground. Make sure you're selecting this foreground and you're not selecting the entire component or BG layer. And now we'll move it to the next set of the quarter. And then let's go to the last frame again. Make sure you are selecting the foreground. I'll give you a simple tip. You can hold control or command to select the nested object. So if you select the entire component, when you click anywhere on the component, it selects the entire component. When you hold control, it basically allows you to select the nested layer within it. Right, now you can rotate this to the default. Now you can see, now we'll create the interactions. Now this time we'll create after delay of 1 millisecond, and now we'll be just having a linear animation with the smart animate, because this is a simple loader which we have created earlier. Same way, after delay 1 millisecond, I'll just first create the interactions, and then let's change the duration for all of them in single go, and we'll be having this from last frame to first frame. Again, that is going to be after delay with 1 millisecond. And now let me select all of them, and let me go to the delay, and let's just adjust the timing somewhere around 450 milliseconds. It is up to you, how fast or slow the animation you want. So let me just now show you how to use this or test this animation. So to do that, we need to create a frame. So let's create a frame, probably a desktop frame, and let's just get an instance of the first frame in the in the test frame. So select the first instance, or the first variant, and then hold your option or alt button and just drag it in your desktop frame. or in your test frame. Definitely we have created a very large loading animation. That doesn't matter, we are just understanding the principles behind it, but make sure you use the sizes as per your design, which you are expecting. So let me just create a quick interaction here, and let me just play this. So now if you see, this is basically animating the circle, as expected, with a very uh, cool, nice and smooth linear pattern. And we are just created an endless looping animation with just 4 variants. Now I'll show you why we are not doing it with 2 variants. There's a reason. We can do any other animations with 2 variants, but when it is a rotating object, then it is quite difficult, because how Figma understand rotation is slightly different than any other tools. So let me just show it to you, how Figma handles it, and why we should not be using 2 variants when we are creating a rotary kind of animations, right? So let's just close this. Let's just get rid of this. Okay, and now we'll create a this time let's go a smaller one. Oops, sorry, I'm in the prototype tab. So I'll create a 100% sweep now, and we'll just have some darker shade here, and let's just duplicate this. We'll change the color, something like this. And now this time let's again adjust the sweep to create the first portion. And now I'll select the I'll just rename them background, and this is my anim foreground, right? I'll select both of them. I'll create a frame out of those frame selection. Now I'll say loader. We are doing the same things which we did earlier. We'll create a component now, and this time we'll again create the properties variant, but this time we'll create only 2 variants, right, as we saw earlier. And now we'll see what exactly is happening here. So I'll just select again the foreground layer, and I'll just animate it to the end, the last position where we want to end the animation, right? So now I'll create the interaction, and I'll show you, this is not going to work as expected. This is going to work definitely, but not as expected, because the way Figma is handling the rotation. So I'll select again both of them. I'll change the interaction from on click to after delay with 1 millisecond. Oops, 1 millisecond, and let's keep it 450 milliseconds for now. I'll just take this out of the frame and I'll now the same way let's create the variant of the component, and let's test this animation. Now if you see, this is just taking the animation in the negative direction, and just moving it for somewhere around 45 degrees kind of thing. So why it is doing like that? Because the way Figma is rotating the objects. Now if you see this anim FG, this layer, and I'll go to the design tab and I'll show you. Here we have the rotation value is 0 degree, and when you go to the second instance, or the second variant of the animation, it is just 90 degrees. Instead it should have been minus 275 degree kind of thing, because it is just when you see when you rotate this, it goes beyond, it changes, it goes into the minus and plus values. But when you release, so let's say I have somewhere here, now it will take from 0 to negative 90 degrees. It could be in either directions, right? But when you are taking the same rectangle at very last position, now if you see, it is just simply saying 90 degrees. That's why it is taking 0 as the origin and going to the 90-degree, because that is the shortest distance. If we create one more frame, so let's you'll be saying let's create the 3 frames then, and I'll just rotate this somewhere here, and I'll rotate this to the last position, right? And now if you see the interactions, rather than going back, I'll just take this to the last iteration, and we'll take him to the very first variant. So now if you play this animation again, you will be seeing this is now working. So why it is working? Because we have a in between frame which is telling Figma, okay, don't go to this direction and go to the positive direction and complete the animation. That's why it is working as expected, and we need to have at least 3 variants. And why I'm going with the 4 variant setup? Because it is easier to understand, and it is easier to replicate, because you here and then here, so it will reach to the final destination for sure, right? So that's why we have started with 4 variants and not 2 variants, at least for the root tree animation. Now we have created multiple instances, and it is changing the animation, but definitely, so you need to make sure that you have at least 3, or I'll say always go ahead with the 4 variants, because that will make sure you are doing the exact animation as you want to, right? So now let's see how we can create more advanced, or more fancy animations using the spring motion in Figma. So now I'll create a simple icon, very simple, very basic icon, and very quick icon for now, maybe or okay, and I'll give it a little bit darker shade. And now let's duplicate this and move it a little, give it a nice lighter shade of the red, move it like this, and let's just duplicate this, make it a bit smaller, give it a white shade. And by now I hope you'd be understood what exactly we are trying to recreate. We are just creating the goal icon, or the bullseye kind of thing. And I'll just again duplicate this, I'll make it a bit smaller, I'll give it the same red shade, and one more copy, make it a bit more smaller, give it a white shade, white shade, and then the last copy where we'd be having the darker shade, right? So now we'd be creating an animation where we will be hitting an arrow to this, and we'll be we'll be moving that arrow a bit up and down, right? So let me simply create an arrow, right? I'll just simply create a line, and then I'll give it a arrowhead, okay, and then I'll give it a arrow tail, maybe this one, okay, and let's just make it a bit smaller. Okay, now let's just outline stroke, because I don't want to make any jerks with the outline, so I have just created a stroke out of it, and I'll give it a color, maybe some other color, something like this. So we'll be shooting the arrow, and we'll be hitting the target, and then we'll be just rotating this arrow a little bit. Now we'd be taking one more step towards this animation journey, and where we'd be seeing how to create the custom pivot points. And why do we need custom pivot points? Because custom pivot points are very crucial, when you create animations, because you need to understand how you are rotating the objects and what is the origin of the rotation. So that's why you need to make sure that you have custom pivots when you are creating the animations. or else it will be quite difficult to create the seamless animations just uh, with the center pivot kind of thing, because Figma by default comes up with a center pivot point. So I'll just undo everything, I'll do a 0 rotation, I'll just move it back, and will not create a component. We have seen how to create a component. We'll just we can still create a component and do it, but for now let's go ahead with the component version, so it will be easier for you guys to understand. So let me just do the setup part here first. I'll select all of these together. I'll then frame them, frame selection, and just make sure, okay, right, this is our goal, or our bullseye, and this is our arrow. And for arrow, I'll just say arrow, and for arrow we need to create a frame. But now when you want to create a custom pivot point, then you need to apply this cool trick here. So as we are going to hit the arrow to the center, and would be rotating this arrow from this origin, and to make sure that we are rotating it from this pivot point, or from this center point, I'll just quickly draw a ellipse here just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So let's say this is going to be my pivot, or the origin where I want the actual rotation to be. That doesn't need to be exact, the exact pixel perfect or at the middle of the ellipse, but basically we have to rotate our object somewhere from this point. So now if I rotate this, now you will see I'm rotating it from somewhere here at the middle of the arrow. So now I'll just show you what I'm saying. Like when you see, when I'm rotating anything, I'm just rotating it around the center point of the entire frame, not the origin where we want to actually rotate the arrow. So I'll just get rid of this this ellipse here. I'll keep this because this is going to be our pivot point. So I'll say pivot point, I'll just say and now I'll select the ellipse which is going to be my pivot point, and I'll just right click and I'll say frame selection, and this time I'll say arrow frame. Okay, and now you'd be wondering, we have created a pivot point or we have created a smaller frame, and arrow is still outside of the frame, and now we'll be taking it in the frame. So now let's just move the arrow from your layers panel in the frame. So this way now when you select this arrow frame and when you rotate, you can see we are rotating the arrow around this newly created custom pivot point, right? And even if you want to animate, you can still simply move this frame and it will automatically animate the arrow as well. So we have created a parent child relationship here. You can say this is our parent, this is our animation handle, and just to make it more kind of easy to understand, I'll just create 2 lines. Okay, and I'll just rotate them here and just move them at the middle of the ellipse, and same way I'll just group them and move them in the arrow frame. Still my arrow frame is the smaller one, but this is just a reference, sorry this is just a reference where we are actually moving, right? So now if you see it will tell you oh sorry, we need to select the frame, not the actual arrow. And then if you see this is giving me a sense, okay, I'm just rotating it with what are the number of degrees, because this circle is not able to you're not able to understand. So it is just for the demonstration. You actually don't need to do this when you are creating animations. I'm definitely going to get rid of this when we are done with the tutorial or with the animation. So now let's select everything. I'll say or simply I'll go to the frame tool and I'll create a frame like this. So this is going to be my frame which is going to hold the complete setup here in a component, right? So I'll just give it a name, arrow icon, right? And I'll create a component. Now we have created the component. Let's take it out of the frame and just bring the instance of this in our test frame, right? Let's align it to the center. Now we'll be creating the actual animation, the actual complex animation with the arrow, and which is going to be hitting the goal, and we'll be rotating it around. To do that, we definitely need at least one frame where we are starting, one frame where we are hitting the goal, right? So 2 frames are definitely needed. So let's do it the same way how we have created the frame earlier. We'll just create a variant, right? And then that is going to be our frames. So I'll say frames, or I'll say frame. This is going to be my frame 1, or maybe I can have a space, and this is going to be my frame 0. Okay, so we'll be taking this arrow. Make sure you are not selecting the arrow or the group within it, and you are just selecting the frame itself, which we have created recently, right? And we are just moving it, and we are hitting it the origin where we want to meet the target. So that's that's the reason why I have created these crosshairs, or the lines, which will help you to align the arrow at the middle of the ellipse which we have in the goals, right? So our basic first part of the animation is done. Let's create the interaction. This is going to be after delay, right? And let's have maybe 100 milliseconds, or let's okay. And then this time let's go ahead with the smart animate and linear just to test out. And let's will not create a looping animation right now. We'll just create a simple static animation, and now we'll see if our arrow is animating, right? So it is animating as expected, but it is not giving us that flow, how it should be moving, right? So let's add that crisp in our animation. To do that, let's simply select the interaction, and instead of going with linear, let's go ease in and ease in back. So it will simply create the field where the arrow is moving a little back and then going to the target. Okay, let's just adjust the duration as well. So I'll keep this preview open somewhere here. Let's select this, and let's just make it somewhere around 600. And now let's see this. Sorry. This is after delay and smart animate. Everything is fine. Why it is not working? Let's just play it again. Sometime Figma has this this glitch which I have been facing a long time. So it is very difficult to debug such things. So let's go back here. Let's create let's remove the interaction again. Okay, let's close this preview first. Let's again create the interaction, and make sure we are doing it on after delay of 100 milliseconds, and we are doing smart animate to frame 1, and we are doing ease in and back with 600 milliseconds. I'll again simply select this, and first we'll create the auto layout here, just to make sure I have sufficient room to work on my interaction. So let's say 150 pixels in between. This way you can see if you have the interactions properly set up, and you can visualize the things here. Now let's see if we have this here. We have the after delay interaction, and that should be working now, right? So now this is working as expected. No need to worry, it is just a Figma glitch, and sometime you just need to close the preview and restart the prototype, it automatically takes it starts the animation. Okay, so now let's just close this and let's work on the further part here. But now if you see, this still is not the way we want. We will first complete the animation and then we'll adjust the timings. We have just created a simple ease in and back. Okay, maybe let's just first create one more variant here, and this time we need to rotate the arrow, right? So I'll select the arrow frame, which is this tiny frame here. I'll go to the design tab, make sure you are switching the tabs. uh, Now I'll just rotate it a bit upwards. Okay, which is somewhere around 12, so let's do it 15 degrees kind of thing. Okay, and let's create the interaction again, same way, after delay. Sorry, change to, that's fine, that's going to be after delay, but this time instead of let's still keep it 100 milliseconds. Okay, and instead of 600 milliseconds, we need to adjust the timing, because if we keep it 600 milliseconds, I'll just show you what is going to happen. So this is going to be very slower or a smoother animation, which we don't want here, because when we are hitting here, the arrow has to be immediately start bouncing. So to do that, we need to adjust the timing here, and where we can play around with the specific timings. So the examples which we saw so far, where we have just created the interactions where we were just using the same the duration throughout the entire animation, but now we'd be going a step deeper, where we'd be creating specific interaction. So the specific durations for the interaction, so let's say 200 for just to start with, and we'll keep on adjusting until we get the desired look we want. Okay, this is good. Still I'm not satisfied here, but we'll adjust the timing curve a little bit, rather than ease in and back. Now we'll say ease up and back for now, and let's see this. Okay, but I want it to come down as well, so I'll create one more variant here, and this time, rather than make sure you're not selecting the arrow and you're not in the prototype tab, you need to select the arrow frame, and instead of 15 degrees in the positive axis, we'll do it minus 15 degree, which will be complete opposite of this frame. And this time again, we'll be creating a after delay interaction with let's say same 100 milliseconds, where let's keep it 200 for now, and let's just test this. Okay, so now if you see, there is that a glitch or a pause kind of thing, because we need to adjust this. Let's make it 1 millisecond for now. Okay, and now we need a frame where it goes back to the origin. Now this negative 15 degrees on the both axes is kind of a bit too much, because the way the arrow is hitting the target, that should not be that much of bounce, because it will just bounce a little bit. So we'll just adjust that. So I'll select the arrow frame, and rather than where I am, I'll just close this. I'll select this, I'll select the arrow frame here, and instead of minus 15 degrees, let's have it minus 5 degrees or so. And the same way, other than having it minus 50 or like plus 15 degrees, let's just have it 5 degree. So now let's again test this. Go to the prototype, play this. Okay, now let's just create a last frame for now, and then we'll start adjusting the actual curves. And I'll show you one more trick, where which is very hidden kind of thing in the Figma, which very rarely people use it. So I'll just go to the last variant, I'll select the frame and I'll go back to the 0, and let's create the interaction here. Instead of on click, that's going to be after delay with 1 millisecond, and let's keep it 200 for now. Definitely we need to change the timing for each and every frame. We are just testing it. Okay, so now if you see, we are just basically starting where we are going a little bit up and down, and then we are coming back to the center. So now instead of 200 milliseconds, so first we'll start from here. Now instead of 600 milliseconds, I'll say let's go a bit faster, 450 milliseconds for now. And now say when we have very fast animation, then that has to be that gentle, or that quick motion at the end as well, right? So let's select the second frame, select the after delay, and rather than having it 200 milliseconds, let's do it 150 here. Let's test this. Okay, and now when we go from this to this frame, let's reduce it a bit. Rather than having it 150, let's have it 100 milliseconds. Now let's test this, and now when you go back to the origin, let's just do it with 50 milliseconds, and that is not going to be ease out back. Let's say linear for now. Okay, so when you are adjusting the animation with bezier curves, you are noticing, okay, there's still you are not able to mimic the way you were able to create in the simple animations, in the same way. When we are doing the complex animations, we are not able to create it with the predefined animation timing curves. So we'll be using the custom beziers for creating those animations. So now I'll introduce one more thing here. Now we'll be using, like, let's go to the after delay, and now let's say instead of having it ease in and back, let's go to the custom spring, right? So when you go to the custom spring, basically it is more advanced, which is kind of where you are modifying the curves based on the actual physical properties, where we are adjusting the stiffness, damping, and mass. So now we let's just test this. So now if you see this very first interaction itself, now you can see the duration and the movement or the motion, and it has been improved quite bit. I'll just adjust the damping, and I'll adjust the stiffness a bit. I'll increase the stiffness, and you can see the preview here, how quickly it is just reaching the destination. And just now if you see this, we are still somewhere around 450 milliseconds kind of thing, but the way it is hitting the target is slightly different, right? So now if you see this, so we have that bouncy kind of thing when we are hitting the target, right? And let's just simply select the other interactions as well, and rather than just having are we missing anything? Now let's just do a custom spring, adjust this. Okay, now we are doing much better. But now to give it really the crisp which I'm expecting here is basically we are having this goals post is very rigid in the animation, and we want that impact on that goal post as well. So what we'll be doing now, when we are hitting the target, this frame here, I'll just select this a little bit, and I'll move it maybe a couple of pixels behind. And now let's just test this again. Okay, so we are seeing that jerk a bit here, right? So let's just adjust that a little. And I'll rotate this slightly. And what is the duration we have? We have 460 somewhere here, and then we have 238. So let's just increase this slightly, and now test this. Okay, so let's adjust this rotation a bit. That's what the animation is very crucial, because you have to be very very precise when you are doing the animations. You have to be very careful and very gentle uh, when you are doing the animations, and will be just slightly aligning with the arrow as well, very slight and very gentle. Okay, so we need just adjust this dampness a bit, because as the arrow is going into the into the board, that should not be reflecting back that hard. So okay, so now we'll be seeing we are first we are like starting to rotate this object when we are hitting the like before even the arrow is getting hit to the goal. So what we'll be doing, we'll be just resetting this animation here, this rotation here, and maybe we'll just reset the position as well. Okay, and we'll create a variant. So I'll create one more variant in between. Now I'll just change the animation a bit, and in this frame we'll just move it very slightly, just a couple of pixels, not too loud. And that is going to be again with only 1 millisecond kind of after delay, and very soft and subtle motion. So I'm not sure if you're able to see it on the frame on the live stream, but it has very subtle movement, and very minor effect. So let's just keep on adjusting this a bit. Okay, we'll just do it very very minor, and then let's just taste this again. Okay, so we'll just quickly adjust the timing for rest of the things. I'll do it okay, we still have some glitch here, which we'll fix right now. We have this, and then we have this, and then we have this. Oh, that is too much. That's why it is slightly so let's taste this. we are here where we are having the pause kind of thing. Let's just move it a little, quicker, make it a bit quicker, and now let's test this. Okay, so now we'll adjust the timing a little bit here. Okay, we haven't changed this to custom spring yet. Make it a bit softer and the subtle. And now let's just taste this. Okay, yes, so we have a much nicer animation. You can still play around with the timing here, and you can make it more cleaner and subtle kind of thing here. So let's just do this. Okay, nice. Now I'll create a first frame a bit let's just add one more variant, and I'll just move it at the top. Okay, and this is going to be my origin actually. Origin, and this origin will not have arrow, so we'll just uh, remove the arrow, or I'll just say we can simply scale it to 0 0 kind of thing, or we can simply make its opacity to 0. We anyways don't need these groups. Will remove these groups and ellipses which we have created, and now I'll just simply scale it down. To scale it down, I'll use the scale tool which Figma has, and make sure you are not scaling the entire the entire variant. We are just scaling the goals part here. Okay, now I'll create the interaction here from this to this, and this is going to be a custom spring. I'll just adjust this a little bit bounciness, and that will not have 100 milliseconds, right? And now we'll just close this preview here, and this is going to be rather than the second frame, we'll be doing it with the origin, right? I'll just make sure we have proper setup here. We have origin, and then we are going to the first, then we are going to the second, then we are going to third, fourth, fifth, right? So let's just play this. Don't we have after delay here? We have, right? Let me just cross check the names. Okay, sorry, I guess other than animating or the scaling the entire goal, we need to again scale down the oops. Rather than scaling the entire group, we need to scale down the ellipses within them, because if we scale down the entire group, that is not going to give us the interpolation. And this has to go here. Let's just delete this, and again bring this in here. Sometime you have to fix the problems just by deleting the instance from the frame, and just do it again. Okay, now if you see, we have that nice zoom in effect, and now I'll be just adjusting the springiness of the animation here, and I'll show you how we can create more damping, or more springy effect. So you can increase the damping, so rather than just having it somewhere around here, and just have the mass a bit, and let's just test this. Okay, that is too much of springiness. Let's adjust the stiffness. Let's go back to the mass. Oops. Again, the same issue. Let's just delete this and again bring in the instance here. And let's just play this. Right now you have this the complete animation, animated icon, you can say. Now I'll just change a couple of things here. Instead of after delay of 100 milliseconds, we'll be just doing it 1 millisecond here. And let's see if we have any any delays in upcoming frames. There should not be, ideally. Okay, so we are till the last frame. Now we'll simply go to the all instance and just remove these things. So I'll just select that, remove this pp and the group. So we are just our helper things. You can group them in a single group where you can simply hide them, but we missed it earlier, so no worries. I'll just remove you can simply delete them as well, but I'm keeping them because if you want to further adjust the animation at later point of time, we'll be using them to do it. And then this in the last instance. Okay, so now if we play this animation again, now you can see we have removed all those things from here, and you can see this complete animation is ready. So using the custom spring, using the custom beziers, the things which we have learned here, basically you can create any complex animations. So if you have any specific questions, any comments, definitely let us know in the chat. And if you have anything which you want to understand, which you want to learn specifically in animations, feel free to write down in the comment. And soon we'll be having more sessions on the Figma, and we'll be taking it you know taking it ahead with more awesome projects, more awesome tutorials. So meanwhile, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon next to it, and don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to add your comments, and be sure to check out all other videos, because that will help you to understand more of the Figma, more of the UX design, more of the animation and all those things. We have some tutorials for the multimedia and all those things. So yep, till the next video, be sure to keep practicing, keep designing, and keep learning. Yep, so have a good day. Bye.